Okay, I have 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the agenda
I just have one addition,
with the addition.
just to make it public, because I just found out about it. Docket PC 08-21-2504 has been withdrawn. So we have three petitions. So with that, Louis made a motion. Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Hearing none, all in favor. Approval of the minutes of July 17th, 2025.
So moved.
Do I have a second on that?
John seconds.
All in favor, say aye to approve the minutes.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Hearing none, all in favor. Updates, actually, Jordan, you'll have some input on one of our docket ones, but do you have any other things from the Board of Adjustment?
Yes, we had 2 petitions today. One that you'll be hearing later for a Amish schoolhouse. The other was for housing for a full-time farm worker for Mark Clark's farm that his daughter operates,
Mhm.
and that they were both approved by us.
Thank you. Marcia, are you available to give a county board report?
Yes, good evening. The last 2, was it 2 petitions? The cannabis one was approved, and you're catching me off guard. I wasn't, we've approved everything that was presented to us. There was no confrontation or no extra discussion or no extra conditions, no.
What's that Ebert House?
Yes, the division, the subdivision of the parcel of the land. Yes, they were both approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, any updates on the comprehensive plan?
Yes, we do. So we've been doing a lot of engagement. We went to family night on the farm a few weeks ago. John came and hung out at the booth with us for a bit, and our consultants. Last week, we attended a township officer meeting up in Wilson Township. We did a meeting with part of the Amish community, and then Lou attended a Farm Bureau meeting as well. Next, it looks like we should be scheduling the second steering committee meeting pretty soon. And then the survey is open until the end of August. If you haven't taken that, we'd recommend you take it. Any questions? Yeah.
Okay, petitions. The first one on my docket is docket number PC 08-21-25-01. It's to consider a petition of Twyla Peterson and Sean Hempstead, who are representing GSS Incorporated, site acquisition consultant, who are seeking a conditional / interim use permit regarding the following: to allow a new wireless communication facility, including a 300-foot tall guide tower pursuant of chapter 10.4.6 and chapter 5.5.4.1 of the Winona County zoning ordinance. So I think, Eric, you have this.
I do. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, well, good evening. I'll be presenting the first 2 requests here. First one on tonight is a conditional use permit to allow a new telecommunication tower. It's a 300-foot tower that's scheduled. That's excluding the top of the lightning rod. So if you look, there's a diagram that I'll get to. It'd be quite larger if it were to include the lightning rod with it. The sections of the ordinance stated with these 10.466, which is out of the ag district, that says any type of telecommunication tower requires a conditional use permit. And the set of findings that's applicable to these are 5541. It's your standard conditions. The first site is in Utica Township, Section 36. And it's proposed to use an existing field road that would be improved to access the proposed tower site. The township road in question is Enterprise Drive. The current property owner is Twyla Peterson, and it's currently in agricultural production. It's corn at this point. It's an approximate 9.6 acres. The hypothetical concept site drawing by the consultants. You know, I know it's pretty detailed and probably hard to see on the screen. So, you know, hopefully you were able to make sense of that in your packets when you got them. If there's any questions, the consultant hopefully could clarify those. And one more drawing that kind of shows some of the contours and kind of some of the elements there with the site. And this one would be I believe it's a three guide wires with this. You know, I guess I'm trying to make sense. It looks like there might be 4, but then the one on the right is showing the overall height, I believe, at being approximately, you know, 300 with the 304 to the top of tower with the lightning rod. In this case, the conditional use permit is proposed to be a lease area. There'd be a compound of roughly 100 feet by 100 feet that would encompass the base of the tower site and all the equipment that would facilitate that. Again, using the existing field entrance, 300-foot guide communication tower. The proposed tower base would be approximately 180 feet from the road center line point of the township road, and 600 feet to the closest neighboring dwelling. With that, there should have been in your packet, we did get information from the engineer. With these tall structures such as telecommunication towers and wind towers, we've always had a concern of what happens if the worst case scenario, should something topple. A lot of ordinances in the day require like a 1.1 setback of the total overall height. In that case, it would be like 330, but in this case, we don't have it by strict interpretation of the ordinance. In the last number of these that we've gotten, the engineers supplied information or a letter of a structural design that it's intended to, if something did happen, it would collapse within, I believe, it varies between the two, but it'd be within 160 feet of the base of the tower. Couple photos looking at this. Again, the GIS map is left, and this is a picture looking at Enterprise Drive over the 9.6 acres looking to the northeast. This is looking back to the west. The vehicle's parked approximately, I believe, where the field entrance would be, and you can see the corn there to the left as we're looking somewhat to the southwest in this picture. This is looking straight to the east along Enterprise Drive, and the site would be off to the right. And this is again looking to the southwest along Valley or Enterprise Valley Drive. The consultant has supplied us with a coverage overlay. And I don't want to pretend I'm an expert of what that means or what the ranges would be for that. But this would show essentially the air site with the coverage between I-90 and County Road 29. The one thing we did look at as we did our preliminary review, in this case, since you have I believe trout stream that sits to the north, And it sits on a plateau or a higher ground that kind of overlooks that river valley. Based on the credentials for our archaeological probability mapping that we do, this area would fall into a higher probability of archaeological resources. If a house was being built or egg structure or anything, that would be something that we would require from the property owner or the proposer that we would have to commission that. In this case, they already did a phase one survey. They had a professional consultant compile a report, which we received for each of these two sites. And the summary with that phase one that they did essentially summarized that no cultural resources or material of historical properties were identified with the surveys. And they seem to be very standard with the vendor that we use, which is UW La Crosse, is the ones that we've typically done, but they had an outside independent consultant do it, which seemed to be pretty much on par with what we've seen with the ones that we've done independently. The petitioner did meet with Utica Township on June 9th, and in that township acknowledgement form, they indicated support for this request. It should be in your packet. Summarizing, consider all the materials, all the findings, findings that have been reviewed and supplied by the county attorney's office. The way that the staff report has been prepared and presented is that the department is in support of granting this petition as a conditional use permit. Should the planning commission recommend approval, we've recommended 10 conditions with this. With that, I'll take any questions.
Eric? It's a 10-acre site or 9.6 there, which is currently being, having crop on it. Will they still have crops around that tower? You know?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Well, we're
I
not
would think so.
taking 9.6 acres out of production, just that
Yeah,
actual 100 by 100 area.
right, there's 100 by 100 with the compound. And then, you know, the guide wires, there'll be a point anchor, and they probably have to keep a 20-foot radius around it from equipment and from cropping. But they could probably, as long as that's not disturbed, they could probably get pretty close to those as well.
Well, the only loss is the actual base part and the
And,
road.
yeah, there'd be a
The roadway,
driveway.
they need access. In both cases, okay?
What page in this atlas is the 10 conditions on?
Should-
19, they start on 19 here. I believe,
Those pretty standard conditions.
sorry, 21 would have the condition.
Mike,
Yes.
I got a question for Eric here. It says, that, it's AT&T, FirstNet, and then a minimum of 3 others. But that type of information isn't anything to do with one of the conditions. They're telling us this, but are they really can we hold them to having 3 extra on this tower?
It's possible. I mean, the intent all along since the 90s that I recall is to try to get the most out of, if we're going to allow a new tower, is to make sure it's maximized as far as the number of providers. And, you know, I think to get into that is somewhat proprietary. It's probably a touchy subject, but I think, you know, the direction that the county board and planning commission has historically is that's an issue that they really do want a response to. I think it's a number of factors. One, that if there's emergency responders that have the ability to equip a site to strengthen their signal, as well as to try to get a number of independent ones, that seems to be probably more in line with the purpose of allowing towers. But, you know, I would encourage you, Marcia, to probably direct that question to the consultant to see.
Okay, all right.
Typically, the
Well,
conditions are conditioned to what's represented, so that
Right.
might be the avenue.
I read it somewhere. Now I can't find where I read it again, but it did say AT&T FirstNet. Okay, thank you.
Eric, for a tower like this, Are the neighbors given any notification? Is there any requirement for that?
Just the standard conditional use permit, and I think in this case, I went out roughly 2,500 feet, so, or 20, probably close to a half mile in all directions. And yeah, there's the minimum is at the 10 nearest, or I believe a quarter mile, but I always use more generous noticing just to make sure, I get a big perimeter of the neighboring property owners.
Okay, and what's the form of that communication?
They typically get the notice that you see in your packet, informing them that there's a public hearing, that the planning commission is going to meet, and that it has the property owner, the area, and then they get a GIS map typically.
Mhm.
And then there's usually an accompanying packet of which section of the ordinance, some zoning ordinance information too.
Okay.
Any other questions for Eric? Thank you, Eric.
Okay.
Well, would the petitioners like to tell us your project?
Yeah, my girlfriend's mother
You
lives at.
state your name and your address for our
She
record.
did get a notice.
Oh,
My name is Sean Hempstead. I'm with GSS Incorporated, 3311 109th Street, Urbandale, Iowa. Just to clarify a couple of things on those drawings, they were really hard to read. This will actually be 100 by 100 leased area, but only fenced compound initially of 50 by 50. And there will be guy anchors in 3 different directions at 120 degrees separation. And they also will be fenced as well to a safety point of, I believe it's 20 feet, so that we can make sure that nobody clips them if they decide to farm in between. But typically, they have no problems farming around them. I actually met with the tenant farmer today out on site, Darren Wirtz, and he seemed to think they would have no problems going forward. So again, as Eric stated, it's 300-foot guide tower. We're designing it to handle 4 carriers total. The initial anchor tenant will be AT&T. Excuse me. And the tower will actually be owned by a company called Cloud One Services. They also own Bug Tussle Wireless out of Wisconsin. So there is the potential they may be bringing a what they call fixed wireless provider in as well. They are not sure if they're going to deploy that here, but exactly when, but they will be deploying AT&T right out of the bat. And their financial model is to get other carriers on the tower. So they would welcome any other people on the tower. That's kind of how they make additional revenue on the tower. So, but I will answer any questions I can.
Any questions, commissioners?
Mike, I've got a question for the gentleman then.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Sir, Marcia Ward, County Commissioner, and one of my goals is to limit the number of towers, but maximize the coverage. And so when you say a minimum of 3, how do I hold you to a minimum of 3? I mean, you may just put AT&T up there and be done, but do you represent the owner or are you working for Cloud One?
I am working for Cloud One, correct.
Okay, and they're the owners of the tower.
Anchor tenant will be AT&T. They're just a tenant on the tower.
Mhm.
Cloud One's business model is to go out and get additional co-locators if possible. We can't guarantee that a Verizon, a T-Mobile, a Dish Network will come on the tower. We don't know what their networks look like, how their RF designs are. We're hoping that they will. That is Cloud One's intent, is to do that, along with if, say, like Eric had said earlier, a county or state needs to put repeaters up there or anything from like, well, I know Wilson Township's a little far away, but Utica Township, anyone that would need something there, they would more than welcome people to co-locate on the tower. But the tower
And
is
where's,
designed for that.
I'm sorry, where's your network of towers? Where are your others? I know you have another application here. Do you have can you provide us a map of all the towers that Cloud One operates in Winona County?
This will actually be the first Cloud One tower in Winona County. what they're doing is it's called build to suit for AT&T, but they're also taking over, basically managing their network in this area. So they're eventually taking over all the AT&T management of the AT&T sites, meaning they'll service them like a technician. The RF engineer will make adjustments as needed. But Cloud One, this is actually the first tower that they will actually own in Winona County. And hopefully KIP, or what in Dakota, we call it KIP, but it's over by Dakota, would be the second. I am working on a total of 15 sites in Winona County personally. Some of them are co-locations on existing structures. Some of them are brand new towers. You will be seeing me frequently. AT&T is making a commitment to expand their network here. Winona County, as though it's God's country, and what I mean by that is it's beautiful, it's bluffs, it's valleys. It is a nightmare to cover from an RF perspective. The bluffs create shadowing, the valleys, it's hard to get into. You have to position your towers a certain way to able to cover everybody. So right now, every carrier, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, they all have what I would say subpar coverage here. AT&T is the first one to come in and say, we need to improve it. They're building, we're working actually on 62 sites just in what I call the boot toe of Minnesota, kind of from Rochester over to the Wisconsin border and Iowa border. Some of them are co-locations or redoing of existing towers. Some of them are new towers, but they're really trying to improve the coverage of this more quote unquote rural area of Minnesota that's been underserved for a long time. I also do know that Verizon will be doing this starting probably next year and starting to build sites in 2027 and 2028 probably is from what I'm hearing as well. All the carriers are starting to understand that this area is underserved and they would be welcome on these structures if it fits their network.
Okay, your first comment was very accurate. Winona County is a beautiful landscape, environment and everything. And I guess, you know, you and your other companies are aggressively putting up these towers, and they, in my opinion, that detracts from my beauty and my natural landscape. So does this tower, we did towers here not too long ago in the Nodine area, and the people there kept telling us these towers need to see each other. So what is this tower looking at? What other towers are in that neighborhood that it needs to see? Or is that old technology?
Well, the technology will be changing. They are going to a new technology here in the next 2 years. This is one that'll have the new technology put on it. The tower to the north that I'm familiar with is they do have one in Lewiston. I'm proposing one in just outside of St. Charles, which you will be probably seeing me later on this year. And to the west, we're proposing one in Wilson Township, kind of, can't remember the road name, but it's north of the existing state tower that's there by about 1.5 miles, and that general area. Again, we're putting one in Dakota. I'm looking at one south of Waycota to cover 72 down to Houston. That's a very, very hard area to cover. One up in Pickwick, which would be a new tower. Rolling Stone, that one will be in the county on a farm up there on back off. It's not up on the bluff, it's back a ways. And then in the city of Stockton, we are working with the city of Stockton to place a communications tower right by their not fire station, it might be their fire station, but it's kind of a utility building there.
Okay. And so would you be willing to put those potential locations on a map and provide my planning department that map?
I can show you the general areas and the ones that we've locked down. I can't show you what we're proposing. If I don't have a signed lease with somebody, it's never a sure thing.
Sure.
I can show you the general areas though, yeah.
Okay, I would greatly appreciate seeing that.
Yep, I will try to provide that to Eric.
Thank you.
Well, go ahead.
What's the color of the light that's going to be on top of this tower?
It'll be white during the day and red at night. And different from some of the towers that were built in, up until about 2015, these towers are now built, and a lot of the older ones have been changed out to LED lighting, which is a lot less obtrusive than the old incandescent lighting. First of all, it's energy savings of about 1/10 or 1/100th, I'm sorry, of the power consumption to use it. But it's softer and it's better aimed north or up to the sky. All the lighting is quote unquote aimed to the sky because that's who needs to see it. But as we all know, I can have a flashlight and aiming it somewhere, but somebody off to the side can still see it. But it should not be obtrusive to anybody's residence or anything like that.
And it'll be flashing, right?
It will be flashing,
Okay.
correct? And that's
I
required
was
by
asking
FAA.
because I was a little concerned, because it's right in the, Mississippi flyway for migratory birds.
Sure, and the NEPA is underway right now. We've already looked at that. My company, GSS, actually, we do environmental engineering. I'm very familiar with the migratory bird flyway here in the Mississippi area and also over in Nebraska. We make sure that, we have to do that. And there is a chance, I'll be very blunt, that the NEPA could go back with some issues. It's not back yet, it's due back, I believe, the end of October. Middle of October, end of October, I think, if I remember right. But right now, everything is looking good, and I believe everything's been sent off to the State Historical Preservation Office and all the tribes. So I believe it's good.
Okay, thank you.
My question has to do is how much power is the tower putting out or radiating? How many kilowatts?
So the tower itself is 0. The AT&T installation, I've been in this industry 25 years, so I know quite a bit. I don't just do site acquisition. I was project manager for a while and RF engineer, so I know a little bit. Those radios that are up there are putting out maximum 40 watts, but they actually typically run a little bit less than that. Otherwise, the radios overheat. So I would guess they're going to run between 20 and 30 watts each.
We're not talking like a radio station with.
No, we're not talking 10,000 watts or 100,000 watts. No.
Okay.
Any other questions for the consultant?
Yes.
Eugene?
I got a tower and I don't even know which company put that in. It's on 43, just south of I-90, a couple miles. And do you put this CyberNet cable to the tower?
You mean fiber?
Yeah,
Yeah, anymore, it's backhaul is handled one of two ways. The preferred method is by taking fiber to it. That is the most secure way to make sure that the signal that's being received from the cell phone down the tower into the equipment gets back to the switch, which then sends it to where it needs to go. If they cannot get fiber to that area, the backup method is what's called microwave, IP microwave. But with that one, they do need line of sight to wherever they're drawing the other side's IP from. So right now, my understanding is this will be fiber, but that could change depending on if they're able to get the fiber provider to come down Enterprise Road and put it there.
okay.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll, Twyla, if you want any comments? Okay.
Oops.
A motion to open the public meeting.
I make the motion.
You second it, Louis? All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. If opposed, hearing none, all in favor. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name and address and your concerns. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name and address and your concerns. And the third time, anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name, your address, and your concerns. Hearing none,
Motion to close the public.
do I have a
hearing.
second?
I'll second it.
All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 And against closing public hearing, say nay. Hearing none, all in favor. Eric, go ahead.
Just maybe a point of order, when you get done deliberating, whatever direction this goes, I think the vote will want to make sure it's a roll call vote because we have one member that is remote tonight. So that, I think that's the more official way to conduct
Alright.
it. So thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any concerns from the commission?
Mike,
Yeah.
Marcia here. Yeah, and maybe this is either the consultant or staff. The conditions here on page 21.
Yeah.
Number 5, it hasn't been an issue, but it's listed here. Any interference caused by the tower and or its services shall be corrected at the petitioner's expense. What's the burden of proof there? I mean, we don't have any neighbors speaking for or against. I don't have any towers super close to my own residence, but is there any experience here that we have to have burden of proof, before and after the tower goes up?
I would just add, Marcia, that is a very old condition. That one was from the ones from the 70s and 80s, and mainly that was radio towers and whatnot. I think that was a major primary concern even before the cell tower. But I think when we did get the first group of cell towers in the mid 90s, that was still a concern. So
But it hasn't proven to be a problem. I don't.
no,
Not to my
we haven't
knowledge.
had any complaints along those lines.
Okay,
For 30 some years.
okay.
The equipment that would be on there would be regulated by the FCC to not cause interference in the first place, right?
That'd be my understanding too.
Well, should we just take it out? I mean.
Well,
we-
I don't know that I want to take it
There's
out.
113 pages
I'm-
for this meeting.
I'm a creature of habit, so I mean, I've just brought everything forward from the
I
from
think
the
it's a
standpoint.
catch-all type thing.
But if you get a neighbor that, after this goes up, something happens. I mean, I don't know how they prove that it's the tower. It could be a quandary, how they would prove it's the tower, it's not the tower. But that's something that neighborhoods have to deal with sometimes.
But I think it's just safe to be there because the next hearing, well, it's the same one, but maybe next month it'll be something else. So as you
Yeah,
go
maybe the
around.
next technology will have lots of interference. or
Right.
whatever.
No, one thing for sure, I think it was outlined that Winona County does have a lot of dead pockets where there's no communication.
I'm well aware of that.
Well, my phone, when I drive through Jordan there, a couple miles away in Stockton, it does not work. It also doesn't work in Rolling Stone. It may or may not work in Altura. Now, to take that one step further, Lewiston controls that fire area of Stockton. They carry 2 pagers because they don't always work. So they have 2 different pagers that they have to deal with. Because maybe T-Mobile might work, but Verizon doesn't. I'm just using these examples. They might. I don't know which ones work. Now, when we had the Stockton flood in 2007, we had no phone service in Stockton. So FEMA, myself, we had to drive to the top of the bluff to make a phone call.
It was
So-
the same way in Rushford in
Well,
2006.
my whole point here is we also have to look at safety and how we communicate today. So if somebody's driving and they have trouble with a car, maybe it catches on fire. And they're in Stockton, the phone doesn't work. Now, these might be exceptions, but I want us to be aware that this is kind of scattered through a large portion of our county, as the gentleman mentioned, because of our topography. We got steep bluffs, we got all these
We got hills and valleys.
hills and valleys. And most of the time, if you're on 61, you're bouncing off the towers in Wisconsin for your service. It's not coming from Minnesota. And theirs is bouncing off ours in Minnesota from Wisconsin.
Don't we have one of the towers we proved was for the Wisconsin DOT
And that,
a while back, if I remember correct?
and that is true because that's straight line. Yeah. So to solve this, I don't think we're gonna get rid of our cell phones, are we? And we probably have more than one carrier. And that's a proprietarial thing. So you might have to rent, whoever owns this rents to 4 different carriers. 5, depending on the future. So my point is there's just dead pockets that we haven't confronted in Winona County. And it affects our emergency services, whether it's ambulance or fire, or even your county workers driving around. I'm sure they get in many areas, their phone doesn't work. Cause I see them down by Stockton, but I don't know what the carrier is. So it may or may not work. So we need more than one carrier. So getting back to Marcia, we all got different phone. I bet if I took a poll here, I bet there's at least 3 carriers amongst just this small group. And somewhere along the line, those pockets are gonna be there. So I can see it servicing multiple carriers. That's just my position on it. So that's my thoughts about it. Anybody else have any thoughts before we move on?
I'm just, interested, I understand, the concern about the number of the towers. And I understand also that, a lot of these towers, the carriers, piggyback onto. I am a little surprised at the number of towers just outside of St. Charles up by the Wolf. I mean, we just had another brand new tower go up, and, that I believe probably was a T-Mobile tower, because I suddenly can get a 1 gig on my phone from that tower. So, but and in the St. Charles area, less than half a mile, we've got at least 3 towers there.
Yep.
And I think the concern is that what happens if AT&T says, you know, I'm not going to offer the services to T-Mobile, or I'm not, but I'll offer them to a lesser, you know, homegrown cellular. That's, I'm wondering if that's not what happened.
Tell me
in
if
St.
I'm
Charles.
wrong, but in this situation, AT&T is gonna be 1 anchor, but they don't own it. They rent.
Right.
But they're footing the bill for the, aren't they?
Nope.
Okay, so Cloud One is the one that, so AT&T would have no say if another, if Verizon or T-Mobile comes in. Okay, well, that's,
I don't believe that, though. Money speaks. Can't we make them look like pine trees or maple trees or something, you know, to blend in with our environment?
Marcia, I'm gonna have the consultant respond to your concern and about that not being true about AT&T.
Correct. When individual companies own the tower versus the carrier, those individual towers, companies make their money by having all the carriers on the tower. That is their perfect scenario, is that everybody on there. They will not allow the anchor tenant to dictate who they can and cannot allow on the tower. It totally defeats their business model of what, you know, why even build it if you're not going to be able to pay for it, right? But in the situation of St. Charles, I didn't know a third tower. I know the 2 Verizon towers that are on the south side of that. Those towers are owned by Verizon. They could, in a sense, stop other people from coming on those towers because they own them. They're not owned by a tower company whose model is to do that. They wouldn't. I've worked for multiple carriers over the years, and Verizon does allow co-locators on their tower. They played very nicely with people. They take a long time, but they do eventually allow people on there. So the industry, over the years, I got in the industry in '99 when cell towers were new and people were scared of them, right? They just weren't sure what to expect. They didn't know if they were going to cause interference or harm people in any way. And today's world, it's a little bit more people, everybody has a cell phone, so they're a little bit more readily acceptable. But we as an industry all had to play nice together on the development side. I started off working for Nextel in '99, and I knew all my competitor project managers very well because we fought the same battles. We let the salespeople fight it out between carriers. We all work together when we're trying to build sites because we understood what each other's struggles. So, but hopefully that answered your question a little bit on the allowing people to come on the tower.
Well, I'll reference our latest tower, the Zenki operation, and correct me if I'm wrong, staff, is that owned by AT&T? We had a tower just within eyesight, the MnDOT tower by the Nodine Highway Shop that had space available to rent, and they did not want to rent. So maybe I don't remember. Does AT&T own the Zenki tower?
I know that tower. It's owned by Hemphill Towers and it was for Verizon.
Oh, it's
Uh,
right. Okay.
And what it is you have to remember that if you put two towers too close together, it's like putting two McDonald's on the same block. They serve the same customers, it's a waste, right? So a wireless network needs to be separated, and not all existing structures work within that network. It's just an unfortunate thing. We hope they do. And in the old system of TDMA and early days of CDMA, where it was go as tall as you can and blast as hard as you can with signal, that's when they were maxing 80-watt radios back in the day. There was, you could overlap like this and it wasn't an issue. In today's LTE world, they want to mesh. They want to barely overlap. Otherwise, what happens is the phone fights to which signal it's going to go for, and your battery starts draining, your data speed starts slowing down, and your service goes to kaput. Let's just put it that way. And they typically have come down a little bit. To build a 300-foot guide tower in today's world is what I would call the oddity. Typically, in rural areas, it's not, but typically when I work all over the country, we're now looking at more 250 feet and below, and typically 195 and lower in more areas, because they want them shorter and they want them to where they can connect it. And each one has 3 sectors to it, so it feeds different directions, and they blend them into a network. So it's kind of hard to explain unless I could draw it out, but you'll see on the coverage map how they have little sectors, how it goes out, but hopefully I didn't confuse more.
Louis.
We're complaining about towers going up and that. I remember the days that we had microwave towers all over the county, the country, whatever it was for communications. Some of them relics are still up. But they were up there too, and they were bleeping across the country, and you could see them from the houses at night, just like you can see these other towers. So, I mean, we're not seeing anything really new. Just somebody's complaining about the same old crap. And
Jordan.
I think the point that I agree that the coverage in Winona County is so spotty. We really need to correct that. And a lot of the fiber services that supply the towers will also supply broadband to homes once that gets set up, if we ever get around to doing that. The only thing that I had the concern about is, as I said, there were those 2 towers in the St. Charles area. I have T-Mobile, and periodically I would lose service in my home and call them up, and they complain, well, it's a Verizon tower. They're trying to get somebody over there to fix it, but and so then that new tower went up. That is a shorter tower. It looks to be primarily 5G. It's got the panels on it instead of a microwave dish or that. And as I said, my T-Mobile's coverage improved immensely. So I think what T-Mobile did was they erected their own tower so that they could get away from fighting with Verizon to correct this stuff. So I'm just as long as everybody plays together, well, I don't have a problem with it. But once we start putting multiple towers within a half-mile service, then you got to question what's not happening between the cellular people.
Jordan.
Well, I've gotten a grader stuck down in this valley in an ice storm before and had to climb my way up out of there to call somebody to come get me out. So I think that's a fairly decent example of why this kind of thing is necessary around here. So I would move that we recommend this to the county board for approval with the all the conditions as they're listed and the findings of facts as presented by staff.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Marcia,
I'm thinking, I'm still thinking. I know we need it and everything, and I guess it's not a bad thing. Somehow we have to control the industry and control our own landscape, so I'll work on that. I'll give them preliminary approval tonight, but I got a couple weeks to think about it. Thank you.
as a roll call, because Marcia's online.
Okay.
I'll start with you, Steve.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm an
Aye.
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 And to reconfirm, you're an aye for tonight?
Yeah, I'm an aye for tonight. I'll work on the conditions. Thank you.
So, all in favor? Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, and your next hearing with the county commissioners will be September 9th at 9 AM. Okay, it's a Tuesday. And that brings us to another familiar subject here. Docket PC 08-21-25-02. This is to consider a petition of Beverly Dulux, and as property owner, Sean Hempstead is petitioner, who represents GSS Incorporated, site and acquisition and consultant, who seeks a conditional/interim use permit regarding the following: to allow a new wireless communication facility, including a 300-foot tall guide tower, and pursuant to chapter 10.4.6, subchapter 6, and chapters 5.5.4.1 of the Winona County zoning ordinance. And Eric, you got this one again, I believe.
I do, yep. Just spoiler alert, the specifications are pretty similar to the last one we had. This regards, is again, it's a 300-foot tower in the two sections of the ordinance that this is applicable to. This site happens to be in New Hartford Township, Section 2. In this case, the road that serves that site is a county road. It's County Road 101. This is kind of just outside the city of Dakota in the township area. And the property owner is Beverly Dulick. Again, the site layout of this, the Dulick building site is located just to the east of the proposed tower site. And again, the distance that that we're looking at is 100 by 100-foot perimeter, and they would create a 50-foot wide easement to access the tower site. And this one would be anchored by 3 sets of anchoring at various points. Again, the consultant and the engineer supplied a letter that said that this tower would be designed at its base should there be a failure of the tower site, that it would collapse within a 120-foot radius of the base of it. The Dulick parcel is approximately 12 acres in site. And this essentially shows the layout of the parcel with the survey that was submitted by the consultant. Again, the schematics are pretty much identical. It'd be 300 feet top of lightning rod. It'd be, I believe, 304. And this shows maybe the tower site in relationship to the building. It shows that the neighboring house is the property owner, is the closest distance. And I believe I have those distances cited here. Be approximately 220 feet from the road center line and about 220 feet from the Dulick residence. The nearest neighbor is approximately 480 feet. And again, it's the leased area that would contain the tower of 100 by 100. Quick photo overview from various vantage points. This is essentially looking to the northwest over the Dulick 12-acre parcel from the approximate tower location. It's currently like hay and pasture, and there's a wood line that's kind of borders it to the north. This is looking southwest over the 12-acre site, and we're looking back at the County Road 101, and you can see the neighboring properties in the photo. That would be the closest affected neighbors. This is looking straight south, back at about where the tower would be in line. And it's County Road 101 again. This is looking back to the east at the Dulick Homestead. And they provided a coverage map. And again, you can see, we looked at the archaeological, and it actually, you get on the other side of the road, there would be a high probability area, but the tower is outside of the high probability area according to the county's mapping system. But in this case, they did still conduct a phase 1 survey, and that summary concluded that there was no cultural or historic resources that were associated with their survey. In this case, the petitioners did meet with New Hartford Township Board on June 12th, and New Hartford Township indicated that they had no comments in regards to this request. Again, the Planning Commission shall consider the report, everything with the findings of fact, consider the recommended conditions, and the way that the findings of fact and the approval is favorable based on staff's review. That, I guess, any questions with this site?
Eric, could you repeat that radius that you use for the notifications? I had a couple of neighbors who wanted to know.
Okay. Again, I believe I searched out close to a half mile. The minimum requirements per state statute in the ordinance is a quarter mile. So I usually try to at least go well above that just to make sure you have to have at least 10. And then if you have a city within 2 miles, that respective city should be notified. In this case, the city of Dakota falls within that radius. So we sent a notice to those folks in the city of Dakota just so that they're aware of this proposal being kind of in their, right at their doorstep. So,
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Eric, I have a question. There is a tower down there in the valley somewhere on I-90. Do we know who owns that tower?
That's a leased site as well. That one went up some time ago, and it's a fairly shorter. I think that's one that's under 200 feet. And, there's been quite a run just on inquiries. I can testify that they're continually updating these existing towers. So staff does get a chance to go visit these towers. And it was American Tower, I think, back in the day, but again, there's multiple providers. And we're always dealing with different consultants because they're continually upgrading the antennas in some of this equipment on it. They're updating the equipment cabinets and the shelters and doing rewiring. But I couldn't tell you, who the ownership chain is with it.
Okay, and who's on, you don't know who's on that tower?
We deal with AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, we deal with them all, so it's whoever, there is taking the liberty of upgrading it. So we get a pretty good solid dose of consultants on a daily basis with these.
Sure.
things.
I didn't on the map, and I the geography, I didn't see that map, that tower. Do they see each other? I mean, they're kind of in the same neighborhood.
You can, yeah. I mean, it is, I think from that site, that that's a tower it's basically on the valley floor.
Right.
It's for probably more for the traveling traffic going up and down I-90 because that's a pretty steep incline as you're going up towards Nodine. And I don't think you could actually see it from down below where 61 and kind of merges with I-90. I think it's more wrapped around the corner at that point so that it's
Yeah.
probably not even visible from the Mississippi corridor.
Right. Well, and so you made a good point. So I'm a little confused. We got GSS, and is that just the consultant, and this Cloud One is actually the one that's going to own it? So is this just a consultant working for this Cloud One, and Cloud One will be the owner?
Again, you could ask for
That's
verification.
consultant.
So I don't want to misspeak on that
Sure.
point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just one comment, we sure got good coverage on I-90 for cell towers. That's, every tower goes up right next to I-90, and the rural communities aren't getting the coverage.
Just wanted to give a piece of information that, there's a highly regulated industry, and the FCC does have tower registrations online that you could search, and you could see a map of Winona County and see where all the towers are and who owns them and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that resource was available for you.
Can you send out the link?
Sure.
Thank you.
I think with I-90, it's usage. And you have 20,000 vehicles minimally going down that highway. And I'll bet you
You got 4 customers down in the valley.
19,909
You got 20,000
phones.
a
Well,
day.
you talked about safety, we're cutting out the towns, the small towns, just to support the traffic on I-90. I mean, I'm again not opposed to expanding and making sure that we have the coverage. It's just that everything that's going in is going in right next to I-90, and I don't see how it's going to help communities like Stockton or Rolling Stone.
Well, and we'll have the consultant come back up, but as he mentioned,
He's
we're
looking
not
at a
done
couple
with
other
these.
projects that will address that.
I know Stockton is trying to address it, and I know Rolling Stone's trying to address it, and I look for satellite or towers to go in there too. But coming back to just the reality of how many people go up and down 90, use those services, and every time they click, that's a service for their business model, and that's just the way life is. Am I wrong on that?
No, you are correct. And when a company goes out, when all these networks started being built in the 1990s, the first thing was to cover the major highways. Because they seem to be what people thought were the most critical. If people were in their cars driving and had an accident or something, that was just, they want to make sure they could reach someone while they're driving. And also was tailored more towards transportation, the trucking industry. They were some of the first ones to really have the bag phones in their truck.
Yeah.
But to answer Marcia's question, I wanted to be able to answer that. I did a quick measurement on Google Earth here, and the distance between that 180-foot American Tower site and the proposed site that Cloud One is proposing is 1,116 meters, which I'm guessing would be about 3,500 to 3,600 feet. So over half a mile, but under 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, and thank you for that information, but it just behooves me with all our technology and all our science and smarts that seems a very short distance.
It is, and being honest, AT&T will be coming off that American Tower site because they are down at the rad center of 140 feet, which does not clear any of those, any of the bluffs out there. All it does is provide some coverage along I-90, doesn't even get into Dakota. So as they're improving this network, one of their goals is to take some of the existing sites that are out there and make them more efficient. Otherwise, you really can't build on, it's kind of like if you have a poor foundation, you're not going to keep upgrading your house. You're going to fix the foundation first, right? And that's what they're doing. Is they're fixing that initial foundation right now. So this one at 300 feet improves coverage into Dakota. It also allows them to connect better to their tower that they co-located on, which is that tower in Nodine right off I-90. They are co-located on that and plan on staying there. Which then helps connect to Waitoka. And I can't remember the site that's to the north, It might be on the Wisconsin side, but it just allows them to hit all these other sites much better. My coworker is working actually site south of there, down towards La Crosse. I cannot remember that county off the top of my head. But, we're trying to make sure that we're hitting those sites as well down there. But to also clarify Marcia's question, yes, GSS is the consultant. The Cloud One is hired to go out and find the properties, lease it, zone it, and then permit it. And in both of these situations, like we'll be working with obviously the county for the CUP process. And hopefully we'll get approval. And if approval comes through, we then go back to the township, check for any building permits that would need to be possibly gotten, or entrance permits. I do know that in the Utica Township one, we will be required to upgrade that entrance. And I still need to check with the New Hartford Township, but it's a brand new entrance. So yes, I'm sure we'll have to work with them to make sure that we get the proper permits for the entrance off the county road.
Any other comments? How about the petitioners? Would they like to speak on the project? Or do you represent them?
You mean Cloud One or?
Dulux.
Dulux?
Property owners.
Beverly's not here.
Okay.
I asked her if she was going to be here and she said, no, you'll handle everything.
Okay.
She's like,
I do have a question. Is there any part of the country that you work with that that the county or the township benefits financially? Like we get 10 cents for every ping that comes off of our
no,
base.
the
That's
Telecommunications Act of 1996 disallows that.
this allows it. Okay,
Does
we
not
need
allow
more.
that unless we are co-located or lease land from the county or the jurisdiction, like we're doing with City of Stockton. We are actually leasing a space from the City of Stockton for the tower, so they will be benefiting from that.
Okay.
We do try to work with jurisdictions. I've tried to work with the city of Rolling Stone. Unfortunately, that is down in a valley and the RF engineer would not accept any sites I found down there. So we are up on the bluff, but back away. We're not like right on the edge of the bluff. We're outside the bluff zone, so.
Okay, well, I don't want any of my New Hartford Township taxes going to build an entrance to your site
No. All cost, anything is on the.
on the company.
On the applicant. They
Sure.
all, even Bev and Twilight will have zero cost to that.
Well, it's important to know ownership because we've chased, solar companies and we've chased wind companies from a staffing perspective to find out who we're dealing with. So that's an important part of this whole process too.
I don't know if this makes any difference or not, because it's Wisconsin, but Cloud One Services is a Wisconsin-based company, privately held out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. They've been around almost 40 years, if I remember right. And like I said, they also own Bug Tussle, which is a fixed wireless provider, which is like high-speed internet. And I believe eventually they will be bringing that over to here as well to help bring high-speed internet to the communities they're serving along with AT&T. So.
Hi, this is Bev. I am on the meeting on Zoom, so if you have any questions for me, you certainly can ask. I'm just not at the meeting.
Okay. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Okay. Open the public hearing, and do I have?
Motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor of opening public hearing, say aye.
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 Say nay if you're not in favor of the public hearing. So all in favor. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name and address and your concerns. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name and address and your concerns. For the third time, anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name and address and your concerns.
I move we close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none, all in favor of closing the public hearing. Okay, commissioners, what do you wish to do?
Motion to approve with the findings and facts
And condition.
and condition.
Is there a second to Louis' motion?
I'll second that. John, go ahead.
Okay, Jordan seconds it. All in favor? Forwarding this recommendation in favor to the county commissioners, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay. Marcia,
Yeah, I do have to fully disclose that I live within earsound of I-90, so I don't have a problem with connectivity.
okay,
Don't have to
well,
worry about flooding.
Just freeze.
did anybody abstain or speak against this petition? Seeing no one, it was all in favor. And again, it's gonna be September 9th, 9 o'clock in the morning, with the county commissioners.
Might be 9:02 by the time you get to this one.
Okay, we'll move on to our next docket. Docket number PC 08-21-25-03 is to consider a petition from Jake and Mary Yoder who seek a conditional/interim use permit regarding the following. To allow for a new schoolhouse to be located within a ag/resource conservation zoning district and pursuant to chapter 10.4.6, subchapter 31 of the Winona County Ordinance. Bill,
Good
take it away,
evening.
Olivia.
That section of our ordinance references public and private schools. That's the reason that they are here tonight for the conditional use permit. The site that they are looking at is in St. Charles Township. It's on Jake and Mary Yoder's property. They're the petitioners. It's section 32. It's about 28.9 acres. You can see it outlined. It does go to the north and south of County Road 35 there. And it is at near the intersection of County Road 35 and Sinclair, as it relates to that parcel outline. This is the staff-created site plan. It does show a feedlot setback. They did go to the Board of Adjustment earlier today, and they did receive a variance from the feedlot setback. The required one is 500 feet. They received a 260 foot for where the schoolhouse is going to be proposed. In the site plan, the schoolhouse building is the red outline, and then there's a yellow outline that shows an outbuilding that would be for horses and then have a bathroom on one side of it as well, with the driveway proposed to the south there. This is the petitioner submitted site plan. Similar, it does show the building setback as that purple line. So essentially they're going to be 65-foot setback. So they're proposing to keep that outbuilding just outside of that setback. And then the building is about 26, 30-ish from the property line to the south with the driveway in between. Some considerations of the project. It is ARC zoning. Like I mentioned, it's a public or private school is the section in the ordinance that we're citing for this. The petitioners brought this forward because they need additional schooling, educational opportunities for families in the area. It's proposed to serve 5 to 12 families that live in the vicinity of where it's being proposed. As I mentioned, the outbuilding would have bathrooms on one side. There's no well being proposed. The bathrooms would be a holding tank that's designed to be underneath the building, so it would just drop right down. It is located on the intersection of County Road 35 and Sinclair. I'll show you with some photos in just a second. And then during the school year, obviously, there will be transportation to and from the site, but then outside of the school year, it wouldn't really see much traffic. So photo one, looking at the site, the schoolhouse is still that red outline with the outbuilding as the yellow. This is looking to the southwest. You can see the trees there. There's a fence that's the cemetery property just to the south of the Yoder's property. This is looking to the southeast. So again, the schoolhouse and the outbuilding. Sinclair Road there's a stop sign in the very far distance, if you can see that, where the driveway would be coming in. So the stakes for the driveway are circled in red there. Again, it would be towards the south of the buildings. This is looking north up Sinclair Road towards the intersection with County Road 35. and then looking to the south down Sinclair Road. The petitioners attended the St. Charles Township meeting on August 19th. The township form that we received indicated no comments regarding the request. Your packets were also amended to include a neighbor letter as well as the township form and then the draft findings, but just wanted to point that out to make sure you had a chance to read those. Our recommendation would be that you consider all materials and testimony before making findings that support your decision. Our analysis and draft findings do support granting the conditional use permit for the schoolhouse. And should you decide to recommend approval, we've drafted 4 conditions for your consideration. Any questions for me at this point?
No.
Thank you.
Would the petitioners like to come up and state your plans and goals and state your name and address and then tell us about your project?
Jake Yoder, address is 11808 County Road 35, St. Charles, Minnesota. So we were with the schools that we have, we're traveling on County Road 35, like 3.5, 4 miles to the schoolhouses. And those schoolhouses were families in that area the houses were full, and we have 18 kids in this location. So so as a community or in that group, we come together, how can we put in a schoolhouse? Where can we put it that's beneficial for the kids going to school? So this location is what we come up with, the best that we could find. And what this serves is the neighboring families. And we have the cemetery to the south, which that pipe fence is a separation that you can see there. So it is Steve Holm here takes care of that cemetery, and we want to respect that. So we moved the schoolhouse and the storage shed so that the playground is more to the north of that. So we also have neighbors to Hanson's who are to the east of the storage shed and the schoolhouse. So how can we best fit this in there so that we're not coming into disturbing them? So that's what we come up with the driveway on the bottom side. We did have a conversation with Steve today on if we could make sure the driveway is put in a way so that we don't have erosion, we don't have washing or anything like that. I did talk with Amy last night, and we was talking on the different areas, and she said signage. What do we have? And so the signage is something, I just told her we want signage, but is that out of our power? And we don't want to, I am very grateful for anybody that's taken time for this project. But we don't want to create why ask for signage if we don't have a school? At all times, whether we put the schoolhouse up or we do not, the school kids are, instead of traveling 35 for 3.5, 4 miles, we're crossing the road. So at all times, we are traveling 35. We have 2 families on the north side of 35 that would be attending the school, and we have 3 families on the south side of 35 that would be attending the school.
Any questions for Jake?
Yeah.
Mike?
Is the schoolhouse an outbuilding quite similar to your other school facilities?
The same thing.
Okay.
So we talked about, and Olivia mentioned the outhouse on it. So what that is, if I say this correctly, I believe it's what you have in the city parks. So there's a holding tank, a 2-compartment that Chatfield has a design on, that they did a design for it. So that's a 2,000-gallon tank that's buried beneath the bathrooms. And that's what, so that's the holding tank. And then the horses, they are contained, so the storage building does have maybe 4 rooms, 2 bathrooms, and then it's got maybe a 10 by 10 area for, there's 2 horses that will be attending, that the kids would be coming with. And then the other end is our storage for desk, coal for heat is what the storage area is for. Schoolhouse and the storage shed on any of the ones that we have built in the last 3 to 4 years, identical. Yes. And we are not, so we thought to move the driveway down on the bottom side. We can protect the privacy maybe a little better for Hanson's on that area. And maybe we benefit the schoolyard a little better to put it below. The traffic that's coming in there is so minimal. But we do have 3 families that are walking distance. And each school has a fenced area, playground. So what we were thinking is when we come off the west end of the cemetery with that fence line going to the top, and then in that fence, we put a crawl-through space that, so most of them would be crossing over onto the upper side, which would not actually come down to the corner of 35 and Sinclair, but closer to the top of the hill.
Okay.
Does this plan include any room for expansion, or is this just set?
We do not, so room for expansion. Schoolhouses are all a 1 room. And when you have school-age children, we do not have, for 1 teacher, we try to stay in that 15 to 22 pupils is a full house
Okay,
for 1 teacher.
and you've got that.
First to 8th, we have 18 pupils
Okay.
that would be attending this school. So as far as expansion, really do not want to, should I say? I mean, it just gets to be a bigger area where we have school kids on the road for a longer period of time. Is what we're.
And when you take the 18 to this one, there's gonna be more room in.
Yes, that's,
Another-
and these 18 scholars are right now coming out of 3 different houses.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
I move we open the public hearing.
Do we have a second to open the public hearing? Louis seconds it. All in favor, say aye to open the public hearing. Aye. Marcia's an aye.
Yes, aye.
Anybody? Not in favor, open the public hearing, say nay. Hearing none, all in favor. So anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name and address and your concerns.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Stanley Hanson. I live right across the street from where that's going to be. That's Richard. He's my husband, but he doesn't talk very well in public. I did get one of my questions answered, which was as far as though the bathroom facilities, holding tank. That's great. So I don't have to worry about any kind of water concerns. The only reason I came tonight, though, was to make sure that there's not going to be any impact on my home with a school suddenly popping up right next to my house. And mostly the concern is it's a country house. We get varmints sometimes. Sometimes we might be out there, not towards the school, but taking care of varmints that might be out on our property. I just want to make sure that that's not going to be an issue being near kids. So otherwise, I'm not opposed to having this school. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name, your address, and your concerns.
My name is Rachel Markey and I live at 28179 Sinclair Road. I want to make it clear, I'm not against the schoolhouse. I am against the location. It's not ideal for many reasons, just because of County Road 35 and how many families will be traveling back and forth. I don't know if you guys have been out there at all, traveling on that highway. It's not good. The highway is falling apart. There's rivets. Mr. Yoder explained that he does have to fix his buggy once in a while because the road is just not well, and we're gonna have more traffic on it. You know, the Englishmen, we drive our cars down the middle of the road because it's falling apart on the sides by steel wheels. I don't know if horseshoes or whatever. It's just not, it's not repaired. It's not a good road. There's a blind spot also on that hill. And when you're pulling off from Sinclair, you can't see. You know, you got to kind of pull over towards the Hansons a little bit to see. And quite honestly, it gets to be kind of scary when you're pulling out, just because the drivers do not slow down. I mean, it's very fast traffic on that highway. I would be the reason I'm concerned is just because, like I said, the location, but if we're having kids walk or ride buggy on that road, I don't want to be a statistic like Fillmore County, and have accidents. The other issue that I am concerned about is with the location is Mr. Holm does a wonderful job of keeping that cemetery intact and beautiful, mowed, cleaned. And we're putting an outhouse next to it, and it's not a pretty sight. Not saying the kids will be playing in there, but it's, you know, they're gonna have a lot of more traffic on it too. There's other considerations that I think you guys got an email with too, so that's just, I hope you take the safety concern into consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name and your address and your concerns. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name, your address, and your concerns.
I'm Melvin Gimbridge at 11673 County Road 35. I guess the reason we're trying to get that school there is to get the kids off the road. If the school's not there, we got 4 buggies on 35. If the school's there, we got 1. That's why we're they're walking, but they're not on the road with a buggy. that's kind of why we're trying to put it there. And I guess that's about all I got.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, anybody else wishing to speak for or against this petition? Please come to the microphone, state your name and address and your concerns.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
I gotta do it 3 times.
Oh,
before you
I
can
thought
do
we
it.
were there already.
Anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name, your address, and your concerns. Now, the 3rd time, anybody else wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the microphone, state your name and address and your concerns. Jordan, take it away.
Move to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed, say nay. Hearing none, all in favor of closing public hearing. Commissioners, what do you want to do?
I guess I should have asked the question while Mr. Yoder was up there, but which I presumed that the outhouse building, that the doorways and that will be facing the west, away from the Hansons home. So basically, they would just see the back of the building.
They would see the back of the building, so.
Come right up and I need to make sure it gets recorded, okay?
Okay, so when we're looking at what we are wanting to do, what we have down, the bathroom would be on the south. So where the driveway comes in, we have his and hers is on the end of the building. So when the doorways comes out, so that from the road, you see the back of the building, you don't see any doors. Yes,
Thank you.
good question.
Just a point of clarification, is the driveway right next to the cemetery there, or was
So
it coming in?
So
from-
we talked that, I might not have done the best drawing. We've got 36 feet so the back end, if we go to the other drawing, can we do that there? So when you see the back end to the north, the yellow and the red, we have 36 feet on the front side of the yellow. So that's 10-foot setback from the red. That 35 feet, when we bring the driveway out, so we can, our aprons on the culvert and everything, we are well set back on.
So it would come in on right there where it says proposed driveway.
Yes.
That's where it
push-
is. It's not that
Yep.
dotted line
We
coming
can-
from
Yes, we
35.
talked like today.
You're coming off of
with-
Sinclair, a lower traffic road.
That is the 260 feet to the
Center line.
feedlot.
Okay.
So with that, if the driveway comes in on the bottom side, we also did talk, so St. Charles Township, they're open. They said when you put the driveway in, let us know what you got. So the excavator said, we're looking at a 12, but he's gonna install a 15-inch culvert in that driveway. So we also did talk, if there was such a thing where you guys want the driveway on the north side, we would push the 2 buildings down even on the south, and we could have done that as well. So we just thought if we put her down here, if we put the driveway on the bottom side, that's where the buggy is parked. Now we have, the playground is all on the upper side so that we are not down here by the cemetery.
In other words, the playground would be where that dotted line goes up to 35.
Yep.
Okay.
Even with the white line on their cemetery going straight to the top. That's the playground area.
Yep.
And as a clarification, that was mentioned earlier this morning and mentioned this evening to the blind spot. It's a difficult spot there, right where the RD 35 is on this picture. The Sinclair Road actually comes up at an angle. And you have to pull out
See to the right.
to see to the right, and it's also a little bit of a raised hill. So
That was,
it scares me when I'm there with my pickup in the trailer pulling out, and I couldn't imagine what it'd be like for
So-
for a buggy to pull out there. So one of the things that I would really like to see if this goes forward is that we somehow look with the Winona County Highway Department that to put appropriate signage up there, just indicating that there's a school there.
Jordan, can you address that a little bit?
Yeah.
Jordan's got some information that'll help you out on that.
I can read this whole letter from Dave Kramer if you'd like, or I can sum it up for you.
Just sum it up.
Okay, so basically what he's saying is he would suggest that we not make it a condition, any additional signage. But he would like the county to work with the community on making that a safer area in general. So if we want to, as a planning commission, maybe suggest the county reach out to the community and some of the people who live in the immediate vicinity to address that, I think that would be appropriate. But there's laws pertaining to this, and I think some of the concerns as far as kids going out into the road will be addressed by fencing, like you said, but it seems like some kind of signage would be appropriate, and I think Dave would be the guy to figure
and
out
we
what would be
would-
best for
yes,
that.
And the signage is needed.
And it's not just the Amish community that has problems with that corner. That's anybody that comes off of Sinclair coming onto
That is
35.
a dangerous corner. I've driven the road many years.
Yeah, and I see a lot of times as those roads are updated, they change that so that it's
Squares it up a
square
little.
with the road as you come on. So maybe that's a
And
project the county needs to
at,
consider.
at this point, we do not have buggies coming to 35 and crossing over and making a left. We have one that will come to 35 and take a right. Not to say in the future sometime that could happen, but at this point,
It wouldn't hurt to have the signage
we
anyway,
need
because,
this, we need
here's your
signage.
church. I
We,
mean,
we need,
there's a lot of traffic in
yes,
that area. 35 does tend to get a lot of traffic.
Very fast, a lot.
yeah, yes.
But that's neither here nor there with, that's outside of this proposal. But I just
Oh,
want-
can I ask, who owns that property? I'm looking at that map. Who owns the property on the right side of the road with a lot of trees around it? Is that,
Hanson,
Hanson, she is,
They're here.
she spoke before.
oh, okay, okay. So there's no, there's a lot of vegetation there. Is that in is that in the right of way or is that on private property?
I think that's showing though, there's trees, but
there's
they're
tree,
very tall trees.
yes, so that's all trees and even over on the proposed driveway. Now, those trees are all removed other than inside the cemetery. But that's trees. There is no, there's actually no, it looks like it's in the roadway, but it's not. No.
Okay, I'm looking at the trees on the County Road 35.
Yeah,
As she said, they're just real tall.
Yes.
They appear to be in
Yeah,
the road.
from the corner,
Yeah, they're on your private property. They're not in County Road right away.
yeah,
Not in-
there's those,
No.
what you're seeing are the crowns of the trees.
Yes.
Okay.
That angle. That's
Plus
pretty-
the angle.
There really is no shoulder on 35. And what, it's really been tore out. The asphalt's really tore out.
I
So-
guess I'm questioning, Dave Kramer would know too, the right of way along that road,
66-foot wide road.
right? And there should be some, but we'll let the highway engineer deal with that.
county roads wider, isn't it?
No, four rod. It's an
Like
old,
four
it's an old rod. That one is there.
It varies
Thank you.
depending on the amount of traffic.
Well, a lot of the issues that, as I read through all the material and the letters from various people, talk about safety, and you're talking about safety. But I have trouble with safety when these kids are going down 35 multiple miles.
Yeah.
What,
We got-
more safe to get them closer?
Yeah.
Or
Well, he
they
said
go
it'll
farther?
cut
Most
four
of them
buggies
are
to
gonna
one
walk.
on there now.
I agree, and that's. my
So
whole
now
point.
there's less buggies on the road.
You gotta weigh one like this.
Yep.
Apples and oranges.
Then I've traveled more times than I can count. I know it really well. I'm like Steve, I know about every mile of it, every inch.
Yeah.
Miles means nothing.
I know
I've been
it
on
too.
it many times.
And the signage is not just related to the school, but there's only one sign that says, you know, Amish buggies, 7 miles.
There's two.
Ahead,
One
you
when
missed that.
When you start going in off and one coming out of Clyde.
Yeah.
The neighbors kind of know it, but anybody outlying.
I think with the variance they got, we hopefully Dave Kramer will take care of that signage. Again, he doesn't want it on conditions, but he's well aware of it. And he has to be the final authorization on those signs anyway. Can't just put them up. Okay, they're installed by our county. Any other questions before we move on?
No, if anyone would like to read this, you're more than welcome to.
And I'll get a copy of that. We'll put it with our documentation. And we can do that in turn.
Eric's got something.
I got a couple extra copies up.
Yeah, and I've read it already. I think it's good documentation though for
Put it in there.
Yes,
Can we
thank you.
incorporate it in the record?
our testimony.
Okay.
We don't have to make a motion on it. So, anybody willing to take on the findings of facts and the conditions and
I would
say
move,
for or against?
I would move to approve this as written with the findings of facts as written by staff and the conditions.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Eugene seconds it. We've discussed it quite a bit. Can we go right to a vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody abstain or a nay?
I have to abstain since I'm right next
Conflict?
door to this.
So I have one abstention, Steve's abstaining. So that would be 7 of us in favor and 1 abstention. And again, your next hearing is gonna be September 9th at 9 o'clock. County Commissioners. Any other discussion, or otherwise I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
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 Marsha, I didn't hear anything.
Aye. Aye.
Your hand up, but, okay, we are adjourned with all in favor of adjourning.
Yeah.